Welcome to Raise It Up with me, Dani Kagan, entrepreneur, mom of two, and your host. This is a place for real, unfiltered conversations about growth with ambitious women, mothers, and entrepreneurs who are building businesses while raising families. Together, we're redefining what peak performance looks like and reshaping modern motherhood. From parenting and personal growth to business and beyond, let's dive in with practical insights, empowering takeaways, and inspiring conversations. I'm excited that you're here. Let's go. Today's conversation is pretty incredible. I'm talking with Ally Mamalider, who is the second generation founder and president of Organic Traditions, Canada's leading superfoods brand, known for making ancient nutrition simple, modern, and delicious. Since taking over the family business in 2017, Ally has transformed the brand through bold innovation, a full rebrand, a rapid expansion across North America. Today, Organic Traditions offers over 100 superfoods, from matcha, which I'm definitely going to be trying, to mushroom coffee, empowering everyday wellness seekers with clean, functional nutrition that actually works. And I'm so thrilled to have Ally for this conversation. It's going to blow your mind. Get ready. I'm so excited for this episode. Ally, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
I want to get right into this. I wonder always what it's like to join a family business and you're like, I'm going to join my family business. How did you decide to do that? And why?
Okay, yeah, I love this question because I never really talk about this super in depth with anyone. And I think the decision was definitely a journey, and parts of it were I was really like thinking about it pretty explicitly, and part of it I think like I didn't even realize the decisions I was making at the time. So, just to kind of give really brief context, my dad had been building a business since the year 2000 that I was always being involved in some way as a child. As I grew up, I was watching him be an entrepreneur. I was working at trade shows every weekend. We were in health food stores looking at labels every weekend. Like, sort of very early on, was obsessed with all things CPG. So that's just like the background context. And I saw him continue building this business, which we can get into after. And the year was 2017, and he kept really asking me, like, he had always wanted me to work with him in a formal capacity. And 2017, he was like, come work with me, come work with me. And I had, up until that point, always resisted because my dad's a serial entrepreneur. Family business can be very chaotic. This is not the corporate world. Like, there was not a lot of structure. There was not like great team building process. Like, none of that was there. And I felt that if I just joined this company too early, I'd really be doing myself a disservice of seeing what else is out there and just adding to the chaos or adding to this dysfunction. Like, family businesses and privately owned businesses that are small businesses don't have it all figured out. And if you go into that without any sort of external mindset, you're not coming in and helping scale or see what could be done differently. So, like, I'm very thankful to myself for, on some level, knowing that and resisting, getting a lot of external experience, working in some bigger companies that had like an amazing culture, that I probably never would have even left had I not had that like entrepreneurial bone in my body. And so 2017, I was also noticing that for our business, which is a superfoods company, we're called Organic Traditions, and we're all about making superfoods easy for you to use. 2017 is when this was really becoming not so much of a niche trend, but more of like a mega like lifestyle choice for a lot of people. So there was juice bars popping up everywhere, and people were juice cleansing. There were recipe blogs that were like blowing up and like really capturing people's attention. And it was like peak Instagram era as well, where like wellness brands were starting to work with influencers, and that whole creator economy was brand new at the time. And I was like looking at it saying, could I come into this family business that has like a solid foundation but needs a lot of work? Could I be the one that comes in and like has enough energy and passion to really help it reach its full potential? And I felt like the answer was yes, and like dove in. And if I knew then what I know now, like I maybe wouldn't have done it, but I also have no regrets. But it's definitely been a journey from that day forward.
I feel like it's such a mature thought to be at such a young age thinking, I'm going to go work for other people and learn things and then I'll come back if I want to. How did you know to do that? That's very forward thinking and mature at such a young age.
Well, I mean, I'm a little woo woo. Like, I've been told that I'm an old soul and that I've lived a lot
Me
of
too,
lives.
by the way. Yeah.
So it could be like,
I'm not woo woo. I'm like lowercase woo woo, but
yes.
I'm also an old soul. So I totally vibe with you on that.
Yeah, like I'm not like woo woo, but yeah, lowercase woo woo. And yeah, I've been told that I'm an old soul, and I don't remember like fully strategically thinking that out, but when I look back, that's how I look back at what my thought process was. And my dad was also a serial entrepreneur, and he was very passionate about anything he was building. And that was a great example to me, but a lot of the ways that he was running his businesses was very like founder centric and not scalable. And I think he showed me what I didn't want to do as well as what I did want to do. And so whether he knows it or not, or I knew it or not, like I think that's what had me thinking that way at that time, at that age.
Right. And so where did you go and work to get the experience and like how did you know what you wanted to go into before jumping into the family biz?
So I studied, so funny, like looking back, I wish I had gone to school for like business management,
We
even
all
marketing.
do. All entrepreneurs are like, wow. Well, I mean, most are like, wow, I should have done business school.
Yeah, so I have like a honor specialization in history and classical studies, and then I did a master's degree in international relations, and
But
I did
that's
that.
so cool.
It's part of my story, right? Like I'm like, oh, an MBA would have been better, but I did my master's degree in Denmark because I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I just wanted to travel. I love traveling. It's a big part of my personality. And coming out of that, I worked for some different NGOs. Like working at the UN was like a big dream at the time. And I worked for a couple different NGOs and lived in San Francisco and Cyprus. And I did work for a UN agency there. And what I realized the common thread at that time for me was like, I just really love travel and hospitality. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? What can I do? And I looked and I'm like, in Canada, there's two hospitality leaders, like in the luxury world. It's Four Seasons Hotels and Fairmont Hotels. And I was like, that's it. I've got to work for one of those two companies. I was just like laser focused on it. Ended up at Fairmont, worked there for 6 years, worked in corporate communications with the whole C suite. They have 50,000 global employees. I was responsible for like disseminating communication and brand to every single level of employee throughout the whole organization. I loved it. I think it's a great organization. And it really showed me, even though it's a completely different industry, like how to think about leadership, how to think about scaling a team, how to communicate, how to get a cross-functional project done, when you need to push, when to like pull back. And so that was like an experience I'm super grateful for.
That's super cool. I feel like those experiences are so incredibly important for any entrepreneur's journey. I always tell people go work for other people or go like explore before you start your own thing because you just need that knowledge and seeing how other people work and seeing how not to build and seeing what cultures are and other startups are like bigger companies and how they're being run. I feel like that's so powerful. So kudos to you for doing that because I feel like it's super important and it's obviously a big part of your story too.
Thank you. Yeah, something that, like, just on that tangent for a second, like, that I was thinking about a lot as we bring on like some younger employees or we have interns, and it's like everybody has their own path and goals, whether that's to be an entrepreneur or not. And let's say you work at a company right now and it's not where you want to be and you want to start something yourself, there's always still going to be something that you take from that experience that's going to be applicable to your future. Like, what can you learn while you're spending your time here that will still be something that you can take value from moving forward? And someone I was talking to gave it a term like being an intrapreneur. So it's like maybe it's not your own company, but like what are you building there and learning there and testing there that you're then going to like apply maybe as an entrepreneur one day. And I think that would help a lot of people's mindset shift to like, maybe I'm not in the perfect place for me right now, but I'm still moving myself forward and kind of having that lens on it.
Right. And taking everything as a learning opportunity instead
Yeah.
of just, clocking in, clocking out. Because then eventually, if you do start your own thing, you're like, wow, I learned so much here, and this is what I learned.
Yeah, and I'm sure like you can appreciate as an entrepreneur, like you want people like that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a big part of hiring. So you have this piece of your journey, and then you decide, I'm going to go work for my dad's company. Tell us what happens now.
Okay. Well, day one, I sat down with every single existing employee, probably like 25 people at the time, day after day until I'd met with all of them to ask them, like, what's working, what can we do better, how do you think we can grow, what are the bottlenecks. Like, I really just wanted to understand from their POV uh, where we had opportunity, because I know what I saw, but I'm like there for 2 minutes, like in a formal capacity, right? And I wanted to gain trust. This is different than starting something new and bringing a team on slowly. Like, they'd all met me and seen me and known me, but this was different. Like, I was now coming in as like, okay, I'm going to lead this company. I needed to gain their trust. I needed them to trust me with the fact that like I was going to make everything better. I was going to make it a better place to work, a bigger company to work at. I was going to take care of their benefits. I was going to like just level the whole organization up. And I told them like, that's what I'm here to do. And words can only go so far. I had to show them. So I was really committed to getting everybody on my side and starting that journey.
And
I
what role like did you come in as? Like what was your title or the objective of you joining the company?
so it's a great question. I think when I started, I gave myself the title of like um, director of communications or something,
Okay.
because like that's what I was comfortable with from where I was coming from. And I was like, well, I'm going to work with my dad and I'm going to work with, there wasn't really any other leaders. It was very much just top down. And I was like, I'm going to work with him and I'm going to just figure out where all the areas of opportunity were. There were no parts of the business that I wasn't going to touch. And like, I'd love to tell you there was this plan of like what he's going to do and what I'm going to do and how it's going to strategically fit. But that's not what it was. It was like, here you go. And so we overlapped for about a year, my dad and I. And then he was like, you've got this. Like, this is great. And I'm going to really kind of stop being in the business day to day now. And
Oh, wow. Were you expecting that to happen?
not that soon. I didn't see him stepping away because he was so passionate and he was so passionate about product development. But he's also, like I said, a serial entrepreneur and he had other things he was excited about and just saw that like it was going well. And so he didn't, retire and start golfing anywhere, but he was totally hands off the business from that point forward.
Wow, that's like amazing trust. And you obviously, so you came in, I mean, like, I'm so curious about this whole like intergenerational thing because like you came in to a business that he's been building for so long. It obviously seemed like it needed a revamp or something, right? Like, what was going on in the business that like you saw something where you were like, I'm going to create some change, and how did you actually do that?
So there was no culture. He just wasn't focused on that. He was a solo entrepreneur who had incredible product development ideas and was a really strong salesperson, but he didn't know how to take it beyond himself. And there was no culture. Like, it was a fine place to work, but it wasn't a great place to work. And it wasn't even a place to work where people like knew what the products we were making were. And I was like, just coming off of my experience at Fairmont, feeling like so passionate as an employee there. I was like, I want everyone in this building to be obsessed with this first and foremost, so that everyone else externally can be obsessed with this. So I started working on that through, yeah, having like more cross-functional and collaborative communication, meetings, town halls, fun events, just infusing fun into the business as much as I could, adding better benefits for people, understanding like what do you really value, like from a total comp standpoint, bringing in HR, like just getting structure put in place so that it could allow us to scale and grow with a team that really is behind you.
So cool. I feel like the whole team part is essential, and so and I love like the like integrating fun into things. I feel like it's especially like for me, I'm like in the startup mode, right? So everything is like a hustle, and I actually sometimes feel like a little envious of like the place where like people are at when they have their systems and they have things in place so that they can integrate the fun, but truly you have to integrate it all the time. Like it's a key part of keeping your team motivated, right?
Well, a lot has changed. Yeah, it's a key part. And even though it looks like we're like a 25-year-old business, like I mean, I'll continue telling you the journey of like what happened since then, but
Yeah, give us the real shit. We want
I
the real.
I mean, the reality is like that was year one. So the first 3 years I was just figuring everything out. The next 3 years, it was COVID and it was pure survival mode. Yes, I was making changes and inching things in the right direction, but there wasn't like any explosive growth. And I just really felt like I was surviving through sheer will and determination and grit. And I had 2 kids back to back during that time from 2020 to
Mm.
2022.
And we'll talk about that too.
Yeah. And so it's only in the last 3 years, because I'm going on 9 years, that it feels like everything's come together. And every decision I've made since 9 years ago is paying off for me now.
Did everyone
So
hear that? 9 years, okay? 9 years.
9 years.
We got to put that into perspective, really, truly.
And
You're
there's
in
things
for
I
the
could
long
have
haul.
done. Yeah, and there's things I could have done faster, like now that I know, or I would have brought an advisor on sooner. So like, yes, I could have cut some of that time frame down, and I couldn't have controlled COVID, and I didn't take mat leaves, but I did have kids and maybe wasn't as productive during that time. But yeah, there's no such thing as an overnight success. But what I was gonna say is like, um, we're like a startup, it feels like in the last 3 years, that's trapped in an older company's body. And so having processes and things in place like feels good and still feels like we're really fast and nimble. But back to what you said, like you're in hustle mode, like I've been really coaching myself and everyone else to like stop and like enjoy wins. It's so hard. It's so hard to like get to like cross something off the list and be like, hey, now what do I have to do next? But like celebrate the wins and try to have fun with it, because it's hard anyway.
Exactly. And it's so interesting. Like I love that analogy of you thinking about the company as like a startup trapped in like an old, you know, like ancient, what it's not ancient, but an
Yeah.
old company. And it's like, what an interesting concept, because I think it's a facade to look at older companies and think they have it all together, but you have to keep reinventing yourself. And like I remember you telling me the first time we actually had a conversation that you came in and you revamped all of the like digital marketing, right? Like the aesthetic and packaging. Like tell us about that. Like how did that even come about, and how did you implement that? Because I that's part of a reinvention, right? And that's like also kind of the scrappy startup mode, right?
Yeah.
That feeling.
So packaging has evolved like through this whole time, and just this past September we finally did our first total brand refresh. But like when my dad started this brand, it was pre D2C era completely. So he built the business by really working in directly with every grocery retailer, health food store. All those channels were the main bulk of our revenue. And in 2017, when everything was like becoming much more digital, especially D2C focused, I was like, okay, we need to have an online presence. We need to work with influencers. Like, there's so much opportunity here. And so from day one, that was definitely a focus for me. But I'd be lying if I said, like, that's all I did. Like, I was all over the place for those first 3 years. I was like filling holes in buckets and being like, what needs to be completely, I had to undo so much of what had been done just to get to the point of being able to grow. Um, Packaging is one thing that, yeah, it evolved, but it's only now that we've had this full revamp. The other big thing that I had to change that's been the most transformative and really the change happened when I stopped having imposter syndrome about this, which I'll come back to in a second. Um, when he started the Organic Traditions brand, we were also an importer and distributor and broker sort of other natural health products. So anything my dad was personally passionate about that like really saved his own health, he wanted to sell it and would negotiate and become the exclusive seller for that in Canada. So brands that are really big now, like New Chapter Vitamins, owned by Procter and Gamble, Pucka now owned by Unilever, Garden of Life. And the net is we were selling all of these brands and we had Organic Traditions over here. And I was like, our own brand that we're the manufacturer of is never going to take off the way that we want it to. We're never going to put the marketing dollars into it the way we want to. The team will never have enough time to work on it the way that we want them to if we're making work over here with all this other stuff that represents revenue for us, but doesn't have the kind of scalable growth that we want. And it was a long time coming. And in 2021, I stripped that completely out of the business, which was a massive P&L hit. But we're like, this is the year that we're going to pivot everything to OT. And it paid off. But like, that was a huge risk. And I think it's also something that I knew in the back of my head all along, like we shouldn't be selling these other brands. Like this is distraction. It's like, you need to get so disciplined and focused. But I didn't have enough confidence in myself as a leader until that point to make that decision and like hold it strong. So that's another part of the evolution is just like feeling like I deserved to be doing what I was doing and that I was the right person to be doing it.
How did you know, like coming into it, how to manage this budget? Like, obviously, you were coming into a business that was already profitable. How do you manage all of that? And, like, also, how long did it take your dad to get to profitability? Because CPG is hard. It's tough because you need a lot of capital up front.
Yeah.
You have a lot of, I mean, he's obviously importing all of these really interesting products, which are like healthy and probably costed more than typical stuff. So, yeah, how do you, like, I guess we'll start with him. Like, how did he, if you can share, like, get to a place where he was profitable? And how did you kind of come in and, like, continue that and, like, know how to like manage a budget?
You know what? The reality is, I can't even sit here and tell you that for sure everything he was doing from the beginning was profitable. And even into my first couple of years running the business, I didn't have a good sense of the financial side of things. That was the one area that I had the least experience and the most discomfort with. And I wish I had spent more time on that. It wasn't until I actually leveled up the finance team and put in a new CFO who really started to break it down and like coach me on our P&L that I felt like I understood it. And when we did put that person in place and change all of our internal reporting, it was like, I've talked about like the marketing changing and like the revenue streams and channels changing. This was the other unlock for us, was having more financial visibility in the business and looking in the places that like I didn't want to look, that allowed us to grow. So I didn't, when you ask like, how did you know to manage in the beginning? I didn't. It was kind of like fly by the seat of your pants, which is what the culture had been prior to and what I was trying to fix and evolve. But that even took me a while, if I'm being honest. And it wasn't his style either. He was so passionate about product and sales, but he wasn't looking like day to day. I could tell you right now, like what our numbers are every single day. And we used to wait like quarterly or end of year back in the day, the way that it had been run, which is again, family business does not always have like strong, some have great, I'm sure, but the strong process wasn't there for us. This is something that we implemented and that I kind of had evolved over time.
So, for people listening, what are those things that they should be paying attention to on a daily basis in terms of the numbers? Like, what did that CFO come in and teach you about your P&L that you can share with everyone for some value?
Yeah, really looking at your trade spend. So when you're talking about CPG specifically, you spend so much money on listing fees, like getting your product onto the shelf. So for those who don't know, like let's say you want to be on a Loblaws shelf, you're in Canada, that's fifteen to $30,000 per SKU just to get listed, and then you have to perform, or you're going to be delisted, and you're never going to see that money again. On top of
Whoa.
that, you're going to be partnering with that retailer on promotional programs. And usually it's 20% or more of your total sales with that retailer. And the way we were tracking and reporting trade spend was all over the map. So we were saying yes to marketing programs, hoping that it was going to move the needle and not realizing how much money was being dumped into that bucket. So that would be one thing, is like looking at your trade spend or any, like just understanding the value of your marketing dollar is absolutely critical, I think, in CPG and in any business. And then the other thing she taught me was really like the difference between net income and EBITDA. Like everyone's really focused on profitability now more than like aggressive revenue growth. And we were very sales focused. I wasn't like caring as much about that. And she's like, this is more critical than anything else. So like we need to refocus everything on your net income, not even just your EBITDA, but like actual like cash. And because that,
Cash in the bank.
yeah, because that's what allows you to move. And it's not sexy and it's not the fun part, but it really unlocks growth because you can have so much more like power moves when you understand this.
It's so funny you're saying this too, because we just changed like looking at our whole model from we don't look at top line revenue anymore. Like we only look at net. Like
Yeah.
it's just been a complete game changer. And it's a good reminder also to look at the EBITDA because I don't really pay attention to that as much. And I feel like that's very important.
Well, I think when you're in a growth oriented brand, like you, for us, we have to look at both because EBITDA, we're normalizing. If something's a one time expense because we're investing forward, we do want to understand like, had we taken that out, what's our actual normal run rate to see like the health of the business going forward? So the EBITDA has those, you can normalize out those expenses that you know won't be repeated. Like, we just built a brand new website. Of course, it's going to require
Which is
regular.
beautiful, by the way. It's so
Thank
nice.
you. It's
Yeah.
going to require regular maintenance going forward. Of course, that's a cost of doing business and that's in our expense line. But that new, brand new build out, we don't do that every year. So, like, we're going to pull that out just so we have a better understanding of, like, okay, what's the actual growth and health and profitability? And so, looking at it, I think both ways is important to kind of wrap your head around.
So in terms of growth, I mean, you spend these first few years like figuring things out, wearing so many hats, COVID hits, everyone's a mess. We're figuring things out. We come back, we're alive, and you start to grow the business. How like do you what are some of the things you focused on in order to grow the brand?
I actually got really, really disciplined and focused on simplification because what I inherited here was a portfolio of over 150 SKUs.
Whoa.
Yes, in CPG, that's a lot. That's a lot
Yeah.
for any small business. So it meant that not every SKU was a blockbuster SKU, right? Not everything can be number one, two, three, or even like a top 10. And we got really, really strategic about like our portfolio and our innovation because there had been amazing superfoods that he was so passionate about that were part of our company. But I sort of pivoted our thinking internally to like, consumers don't want to buy 10 different things in their pantry. They want what helps them simplify. So I pivoted our innovation to be anything that people can use like one thing a day to get more superfoods into their diet. So like, and fits into their lifestyle. So let's say we came out with the mushroom coffee line in 2020 and now it's our number two product segment across the board. a lot of people drink coffee already every day, so make it a mushroom coffee, make it a coffee that has adaptogens, like that, as opposed to like the old way for us would be like, we're selling you these 5 separate adaptogens, add them to your coffee, like no.
Right.
So it was getting really, really disciplined and strategic about like what we're focusing on growing, and also the pivoting the actual innovation that we were doing at that time as well.
It sounds like your dad also was like the visionary because he like loves all these like different products, right? Like tell us more about like how he got into this in the first place.
So he's a serial entrepreneur, as I said, and like in the late 90s, he was extremely overweight, unhealthy, had gut issues. I think like we think he had Crohn's disease, and at the time it like just wasn't even diagnosed correctly. And he was going from doctor to doctor and trying to figure things out, and he like had very low energy, just like didn't feel good. And no one was really coming forward with any solutions, nothing was working. And he's the kind of guy, like once he just gets into something, he becomes so obsessive. And so he started reading some books, and he really became his own guru and started testing things. And he learned about Ayurvedic medicine. Ayurveda is the ancient healing system in India, and it incorporates a lot of different herbs and spices and superfoods. He started learning about Japanese tea culture and the power of the antioxidants that are in like matcha leaves, for example, or cacao ceremony in Peru. And he's also always been a big traveler and traveled a lot for all of his other businesses that he had had. So he took his health into his own hands, in a nutshell, traveled to all these countries, started meeting with different farmers, and just became so passionate. He healed himself completely. He looked like a different person, like completely different person.
That's
And
incredible.
yeah, and this is like pre anyone like sharing on YouTube about something like that, or like he wasn't like
Totally.
following like, oh, this doctor told me to try this, like I saw this video. Like it was just, I'm reading books, I'm absorbing it all, I'm going here like a slow
Yeah,
process.
what year was this in? This was in
This was
like
like 1990, probably 1992 to 1996-ish or something like
okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
and so yeah, anything that he's super, super passionate about, he kind of like pivots into his whole life. And so he was running like a construction company at the time, glass block. It's like a whole other thing. And he's like, this is what I have to do now. Um, there's nothing that gives him more satisfaction than like someone else having a positive experience from what he said that they should try. So when he was like seeing other people try these things, and so he started selling organic traditions and then bringing in those other brands that he was passionate about as well, and just sort of went from there. No strategy in mind, but like just the blind passion of like, this healed me and I want more people to know about it.
That's the best way to start the business, honestly. Like that's such a beautiful story that that's what happened. I mean, obviously sad that he was having all these health issues, but like what a great story. I mean, how powerful is that? Like he healed himself with all of these superfoods. It's so beautiful. It's easy. It's probably easy for you to sell because of this story and how he was healed by all of these, right? Like doesn't it amp you up for like on the selling side?
It does. And I think people take for granted that wellness and health is a huge mega trend right now. But at this time, it's not like you couldn't walk into a health food store, or a store like a store, and buy a bag of chia seeds or goji berries or hemp hearts. Those were like some of our earliest SKUs. And him simply like importing those from India and repackaging them in this brand and like putting that at retail was a big move at the time. And it's only in the last 10 years that I'd say superfoods have become like big. And then in the last like 2, 3 years, especially with social media and TikTok, just like the speed at which this information is shared, that like wellness is now sort of a status symbol, a luxury, like something to aspire to. Before it was just kind of like granola hippie vibes.
Yes, totally. It was granola and now it's so in and
Yeah.
it's cool to be healthy, which I'm a big proponent of. So I love it. Do you feel like because you're jumping into this intergenerational business that there's pressure on you to succeed?
Yeah, and it's funny because it's not pressure from my dad, it's pressure I put on myself. I probably put so much pressure on myself unnecessarily. It's like I don't report to anyone, and I need to check in with somebody to like sort of like coaches and advisors to sort of get a handle on that, because otherwise there's no ceiling for like how high my expectation of myself should be. I'm like a really high achiever just as a business owner and as a mom and as someone who just wants to like care about my own health and wellness. And I go between like, okay, you need to chill, like you're doing the best you can across the board, and always being like, I'm not doing enough. And that's like just being honest, like a constant struggle.
I think it always is a constant struggle for all of us, and especially as a mom. So you have two kiddos. I don't know how you were jumping into this business with the two kids. Well, how did that happen? How did that work? What was that like? And what's it like now that your kids are a little bit older now?
So when I started in 2017, I didn't have them yet, which is a really good thing because I probably wouldn't have, to be honest. We'd probably be in a different place. But I had my son, he's 5 in 2020. So height of COVID, it was the time when everyone was like still wiping down their groceries for reference, like when they were
Yes.
coming home,
That's a very, very clear time in my
right?
life,
Like it's
wiping
like
down the
you
groceries.
know exactly when that was. So that's when I
Exactly.
had him. And everyone was working from home, but we were an essential service. So, like, also our manufacturing and our production was still fully on. There was a lot to figure out. And yeah, I didn't take a maternity leave. We were just working through it. We were remote. We were figuring out, like, what are the guidelines for the staff that can still come in. And I just learned that it was pure just grit. Like this was me 3 years into the business. So this is right after the window of time where I was like really just getting all my plans together, which sounds like that took a long time, but I was still operating things throughout that time and putting out fires constantly. So it was really a slow progression, but had him, continued to work. I work with my husband as well, so that's a whole other.
Oh, full family business.
Yeah, well, so it's him and I that are in it now. He's our director of ops. And so, yeah, next day he's on calls, negotiating contracts, whatever. And I don't regret it. I think like having a baby and working together is extremely challenging, but it's also very rewarding. Like if he wasn't in this with me, he probably wouldn't be able to relate enough to what it takes.
Totally. I feel like there's so many I know a lot of couples who work so well together. Like I think it's like really beautiful if you're able to do it and like not want to rip each other's hair out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
My biggest concern and question is like how do you ever have any separation? Like I feel like I would just constantly be talking about work. Like it's essentially like me spending all of my time with like my business partner becoming my real partner. Like we would just talk about work all the time. Like how do you have that separation?
Like we don't really, if I'm being honest, we don't, but it like levels up and down. Like you know how in your business there's always like sort of certain times that just feel like a crazy sprint, like just whatever's happening internally. Maybe there's a product launch, or for us it was like leading up to the rebrand, or it's leading up to a trade show. Like there's sometimes just more chaotic moments in time, and that's when it's like really at an all-time high where I wish maybe we had a bit more separation. But um on the day to day, like we try to have boundaries around it, but we do talk about work all the time. Like that is really hard to implement, I have to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like, but it's also fun because he understands what you're doing, you're understanding what he's doing. There's something like really beautiful about it too, right?
Yeah, like he wouldn't be able to 100% relate otherwise. And when we had our daughter, it was a little bit easier. It wasn't COVID, obviously. I didn't take a mat leave, but I strategically said like I know I know I'm only having two children. I'm not going to do this again. And this time, like, I'm at least just not going to make myself available to the team and like externally. I'm going to do work behind the scenes. I'm going to review stuff, but I want to be here. I want to be with the baby as much as I can. And so I was still in it, but I was just a little bit less visible to everyone and tried to just like keep it a bit more low key the second time around. And that worked well for us.
Yeah, and it's beautiful that you could do that, like, and I feel like everyone has these, ways in which they like operate. And it really, I feel like entrepreneurs really get each other when they're like, yeah, we just don't take that leave, but like it's integrative, right? And like for me, I was like for my daughter, my second, I was like, I'm gonna attempt, and I have been doing it for the most part, to not work like a full day on Friday and like spend my mornings with her. And it's been like so lovely because I've put a boundary in place that like that's my special time with her, because I also feel like this is my last. So I don't know if you're ever really done, but like I'm definitely like I have the third baby, which is the business. So I
That's
feel
what I
kind of
always
done.
say. I'm like, the third baby is the business. Excuse
Is
me.
the business,
Yeah,
yes. And probably the most needy out of all of them.
100%.
Yeah. So I've been like doing that in terms of like putting a boundary in place to like really like focus on like my time with her, and also be able to like work and still
Yeah.
have like, I love what I do. So I feel like that's amazing that you were able to do that and like recognize like I'm gonna spend this quality time.
Yeah, I love that because you don't get the time back. So you just have to find a way to make it work that you can live with because you don't get that time back. And it's so important too.
Yeah, and I also think it's beautiful that the kids get to see us working. Like, what's their relationship to you in terms of like seeing you guys work?
Oh my God, this is becoming like really fun now because my son, who's now 5, is like knows the name of the brand, points it out when he sees it at the grocery store. He understands it. We have a really, really big retail launch coming up in February.
Oh, can you like give us a little teaser, or no? It's still under wraps.
Well, it's like, let's just say it's where you go when you want to buy like a lot of something, like for the family, or like you're buying like
Okay.
pack sizes and things like that. And so we were walking around and I was like, hey, we're here. We're doing some market research for organic traditions. And now every time we go, he's like, okay, I can't wait to see organic traditions here. And no,
That's
like
really
they're
cute.
asking questions. And I just try to show them like, we have a team also that works for us. Like we've built people around this business and they've come into the office and like met everyone. And it's really fun to see them like start to understand that piece of it.
That's so cute. Do you guys work in an office? Like, do you guys go into an office every day, or are you guys like everyone's like so different now? Some people are hybrid. Some people are like fully back in the office. Some people are fully remote. What did you guys decide on?
So we are vertically integrated. Like we do all of our own manufacturing, pick, pack, ship, everything, all under one roof. And that's where our administrative offices are as well.
In Ontario?
Yeah, in
Cool.
Ontario. The way I'm talking, it sounds like we're like 500 people. We're not. This is still 50 people across that team. And so the admin team is in, they're hybrid. They're in 3 days a week, remote 2 days a week, and the manufacturing is happening 5 days a week.
Okay. And you go in like as you please, or like how do you
I,
structure
I
your
make
days?
sure that I'm there the same 3 days as everybody else, for collaboration, for visibility, for mentorship. I'm like, if I'm asking you to come in, it's because I'm happy to come in and be here too.
Yeah. And do you think that's a big part of like the culture?
I'd say so. We're also really flexible though. Like if somebody has something on that day, like move your day, we're more about the results. We give people summer Fridays. They get a lot of flex time. Like we have our core hours, but if someone wants to work more, so like 10 to 10 to 6, or like we're kind of open to that. So I'd say we've really built a culture of accountability and flexibility.
Where do you see the business going? Where do you want it to go? Where does your dad want it to go? Where do you want it to go?
I want it to go into every single person's household. So just deepening that brand recognition and household penetration and just getting more depth of distribution for organic traditions. I think that we really do have legs to become like the superfoods brand in people's minds, and even that is like a big leap from where we were, where I don't think people think about like what's my superfoods brand necessarily.
Mm,
I think like
yeah.
that's sort of the unlock that we want to see happen and just be everywhere. I want airports, I want it all.
I love that. And you should. It's gonna like change people's lives for the better. Like, why not? I love
Yeah.
that. What's your biggest piece of advice for someone maybe thinking about starting a business, joining a business, kind of like how you have, whether it's with a family member or just joining someone else's business?
Uh, well, I think what I would tell myself now is really to begin with the end in mind. So if you're joining a family business, like why and what do you think the outcome will be, or like what are your contributions? Is that the right fit? If you're joining someone else's business, what is that end game of why you're joining that business specifically? And just try to think back, like backtrack from that point. Like, okay, so then does that still make sense if my end goal is this? And will that step ladder me up to there? The other thing I would say just about building in general is try to go much more like narrow and niche down than like deep and wide. And that's something that I had to really just learn over all of these years. But if I was starting over again now, like cut the portfolio, cut the other brands out, like just zone in on like these two segments, like just I think as entrepreneurs, we get really excited and we want to do it all and really, really, really have the discipline and the strategy to like go super narrow and niche and prove yourself or your product or your idea and then like broaden it from there, which sounds basic, but like I think we all need to be reminded of that constantly. At least I do.
For sure. When you're creative, you have so many ideas and you have to really niche in. And I love that instead of, thinking like wide, right? It's a really, really good piece of advice. This was such a great conversation. Thank you so much. So where can people buy their new favorite superfood brand, Organic Traditions?
You can buy it at organictraditions.com, on Amazon, at pretty much every grocery retailer or health food store across the country. Um, yeah, you can kind of find us everywhere. I would recommend starting with either the matcha latte or a focus fuel coffee as sort of like two great, energizing, really beautiful, flavorful blends.
I definitely want to try those. I want to try a matcha latte because I feel like it's like a treat at home to have that. And so how do you make it? You like steam your own milk and then you pour it's like a powder?
So all of our lattes, you actually just have to add warm water because it has
Oh,
coconut milk powder already in it. You can make it with
cool.
milk if you prefer that, but it's really designed again to be as easy as possible. So you just add water and it's done. It's ready to go. And all of them have a billion probiotics, so you're nourishing your gut health at the same time.
Whoa. That's so much better than taking a probiotic pill every day.
I would suggest doing both to be like
Oh, okay.
I would say a functional beverage will never take over your clinical dose of a probiotic, but it's just giving you that extra boost of gut nourishment as opposed to kind of draining it with sugar or syrups or other things.
Right. And also just better than doing zero.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow, so cool. I'm so excited for you guys. I know you're going to keep growing and doing all the amazing things and congrats on all the success. It's super cool. Are you going to get your kids involved? Like, do you want them to like be like in the business eventually?
Um, well, they've been photo shoot models already, so technically they're involved, but every founder has to like stick their kids in the photo shoot at some point.
Yeah, I've done that. That's
Um,
very, very important.
Thinking about that. I don't know yet. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll have a part two in like 10 years
I
and
just want them to be happy and kind of develop their own interests. So we'll see kind of where things go.
I love that. So cool. Thank you so much for joining, and everyone go out and get your superfoods from Organic Tradition.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thanks,
having
Ally.
me.
Love today's episode? Hit subscribe and share it with a friend who'll love it too. For more jam-packed episodes and to connect with me, head to DaniKagan.com. And hey, the best way to support the show? Leave a 5-star review for me so we can help more people like you raise it up.